folding the third row down is also a very straightforward process, but it's a manual process. So literally all we're gonna do, we're just gonna take these, we're gonna crank it, and that's gonna lower the headrest automatically, and we can just push this down, and it is a flat fold, which is great. Same thing along the other side, we're just gonna crank that, fold down as well, and we are set to go. Now, getting into the third row of the vehicle is a fairly straightforward process. Now, a couple things to note though. This thing is available either in a 7 or an 8-seat configuration, depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're looking at. This specific one is the 7-seat configuration. So, I mean, technically we've got an easy pass through to get into the back there. But if we wanted to make things a teeny bit easier for ourselves, we've got two different options. We've got a button just along the very top, and we've got a button just along the very bottom. So, bottom button there, literally all we're gonna do is press that, and that's going to slide the seat forward, and there's quite a little bit of space there. I do have the driver's seat set up for somebody 6 feet tall, and I can easily pass through there. Now, obviously, if you've got people in the back, they're not gonna be able to reach that front one, so button along the very top, we're just gonna push that button in order to be able to, same thing, slide this seat in a little bit more. Now, looking at third row spacing inside of the vehicle. So I've got the second row set up for somebody 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and with me sitting fully upright, my head actually touches the top. So the top of the very lip here, so it does touch, so something to think about there. But one of the interesting things is that we actually technically can move the seat forward a tiny little bit if we want to. So here's a little lever just along the left and the right hand side. We can crank that up. With me sitting fully upright like that, same thing, I'm just touching technically up overhead. If I kind of move forward a tiny little bit, I've got about an inch roughly of head space. So it is nice to know that, I mean, if you've got a family that are a little bit shorter, they'll definitely be able to fit back here, no problem. Feature-wise, inside of the third row, not too much back here. We do have a little vent control along the back, which is nice. We can open and close it as necessary. Along both the driver and the passenger side, so we do have a few USB ports, and we have a few cup holders in both of them as well, which I think is always a nice touch. All right, now hopping into the second row. So great style when it comes down to it. I love what Kia's done with this, but there is so much back here at the same time. But let's start off just looking at basic spacing. Like 6 feet tall, driver's seat set up for somebody 6 feet tall. I have a great amount of knee space, good amount of foot space, and up overhead, I've got about a little over 3 inches. So I'd say like 3.5 inches of headspace up overhead, which is nice. But one cool thing is that same lever along the side that we use in order to fold the seat forward, if we crank that up, we can actually fold this seat backwards a little bit more as well, so we can recline it a bit. With it reclined, like literally probably 6 inches of headspace, so taller people will absolutely be able to get inside of this thing, and the seat itself is actually super comfortable. Headrest is really nice, fully adjustable there as well, almost as if we're riding with a pillow behind our head, so that is a really cool thing. But a couple things to point out as well. So if we actually take a look along the driver passenger side, we do have some pockets along the back, so we can store some things easily if we want to. We've got a few cup holders there. There are a few cup holders along the doors as well, which is always a nice touch. Now, as we start to move down, we've got a 12-volt power point, as well as a traditional 150-watt outlet, so a traditional wall outlet, so we can plug some things in there if we want to. But one of the cool things is that this wall outlet also is rotating. So what that means is essentially just a safety thing. So if you've got kids, they won't just be able to jam things into there. You've got to actually, it's got to rotate in order for you to be able to plug things in. So this is a nice safety touch that Kia's decided to do. A few USB ports along the side there, which again, I love the fact that Kia's done this. It's such a simple thing, and it looks really nice at the same time. Now, as we start to move up overhead, we've got some pretty cool climate control settings there as well. But basics, we can turn on our lights, so our dome lighting along the top. We can also figure out not only what's going on with the temperature, we can control our fan, we can figure out if it's going to our face or to our feet, and we've also got an auto setting in the back there as well. So a lot of flexibility when it comes down to it, but I love the fact that we've got such great controls, and it looks really nice at the same time. But one really nice thing that I love about the Telluride is the heated seats, but this thing also has the option for a ventilated seat. So I love that fact. Like, we're sitting here right now, and like it's like 32 degrees Celsius outside, so it's a little bit toasty, but with those ventilated seats on, it makes a huge difference. So it is nice to know now that ventilated second row seat available in some trim levels of the vehicle, not available across the entire lineup, but it is nice to know it is available there as an option. That is a cool thing. But one other thing to think about is that this specific one is the 7-seat configuration, which means that we do not have that middle seat there. If you had that middle seat, you would essentially only be able to have heated ventilated seats for the outboard seats. That middle seat is never going to be heated, so definitely something to think about. And then one other nice thing is that we also do have a shade along the top there, so we can easily pull this thing up and over in order to block a little bit more sun, and that's going to be the same for both second row windows as well, which is a very nice touch. Up overhead, we do have our little handle, and there also is a hook on the top as well.